Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As always, I want to thank you for checking in. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to be continuing the editing process that I started in my last video, where we were editing a landscape photo in Lightroom. Today, we're going to be taking that landscape photo. We're going to be putting it into Photoshop, and we're going to be making some slight adjustments and really just cleaning up an image. So I'm going to show you how I personally clean up a landscape photo in Photoshop. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the editing. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get started on this edit. So as you can see, we're back in Lightroom. This is a different image than in the last video. I wanted to continue the same process, but I wanted to use a different image just because this image needs more work in Photoshop than the last image does. If you didn't watch the last video, I'll link that up above. It should be popping up. If not, if I can't figure that out, it'll be down in the description below, so you can watch the image before this one or you can watch the video before this one to see what I do in Lightroom, and then come back here and watch us switch over to Photoshop. So this image is done. Did all the coloring, color grading, and everything that I wanted to do here. Pretty much reached the limit of what I can do in Lightroom. So now I'm going to switch over to Photoshop. So I am going to hit Command E, and I'm going to export this image to Photoshop, and eventually it should pop up in Photoshop. So if you're on a PC, I'm sure it's something similar, Control E or something like that, switch over to Photoshop. But yeah, on a Mac it is Command E, and here it goes, it's popping up in Photoshop. So my process in Photoshop is really similar. At least my mindset is similar. I want to tweak the image a little bit. I want to help enhance the image, but I don't want to change the image. So I'm not gonna like add a crazy sunset here in the background or add a second waterfall or do anything crazy to really change the landscape. I'm just gonna enhance it a little bit. So some of the things that are bothering me about this image that I want to tweak are these branches here. So to me, these are distractions. Like the main focal point of the image is this waterfall here, and I want when someone views this photo to be able to look directly at the waterfall. I want their eyes to be drawn straight to the waterfall, and these branches here are jetting out in different directions, so they tend to distract the eye from the subject of the photo. So what I need to do now is eliminate these branches, and so that's pretty much what I'm going to be showing you how to do here in Photoshop, is how to get rid of these types of distractions that you can see here, how to get rid of these. So we'll zoom in a little bit, and you can see they're really faint, they're really light, so they're going to be easy to get rid of. So what I'm going to use is this clone stamp tool. So this tool right here. I'm going to click on this, and the idea of this is to select an area from the image, click on it, and Photoshop will use this stamp to clone that image that you selected. So I selected this image, so it's going to clone that image and it's going to put it right here. It's going to cover up this branch, and so it's going to stay kind of in the same distance or the same range. So as I move, as I'm moving, the area that's being cloned will move as well. So you can see me move, and then the plus sign moves as well. And so it's as easy as that to get rid of the branch. And so you can see just like kind of faintly, the branch kind of extends out in different directions. It's a really small branch, but it's really distracting. So in a situation like this, it's pretty easy. There's a lot of texture in the waves. There's a lot of randomness to the texture in the waves. So like people will never notice this. You do have to be careful because you can see there's different shades of water. Like there's darker blue shades of water over here, and there's lighter blue over here. So if you clone from an area over here and you try to replace it over here, you can see that water doesn't match. So can't do that. That does not work. So you have to be careful and be aware of where you're cloning from. So if I want to get rid of this branch here, I need to pull and clone from this area here so that it's not as dramatic. So I will mess with this stuff here for a while. Try to get rid of this branch as well as I can without making this video way too boring. So I think I'll speed up through this so you guys don't have to watch this boring part here. Okay, so that for the most part got rid of that distraction there. So to me it looks a lot better. Like I'm not, like I can't, my eye is not being pulled over to this side of the image, it's being drawn to the subject over here. So it looks great, but I think it could look better. I think there's some distraction in the bush, some distractions in the bushes here. This is the foreground of a photo. It's an important part of the photo, and I just want to get rid of so the branches kind of extend into the bushes here. So I am just going to cover up the rest of those branches there so they're not a continued distraction. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so got rid of most of the branches, the bottom part of the branches that were kind of shooting out into the rest of the bushes. So that looks better. Yeah, it looks pretty good. If you know, depending on the mood, sometimes I will go through and just get rid of all this stuff, so all the dead branches, so that it's just looks completely green, and I'd fill in this dark area here. I'd pull this greenery down into this dark area to fill that in, but I'm not going to do that. That's, you know, for another video. You guys get the idea, you get the point, you see what I like to do and why I do it. One other thing that sometimes I do is clean up the beaches because sand can be interesting sometimes, and it makes some kind of weird formations and some hard lines here that are a little bit distracting. So in a situation like this, how this really hard like water line doesn't really match the rest of the beach, I could use my healing tool to blur that line in. So I can use this healing tool. It's very similar to the clone stamp. The biggest difference is that it blurs, it kind of blurs the line, so it doesn't make a hard line. So what I'm hoping it will do is kind of blend in these two different colors here to make it look like it's seamless. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to pull from the brighter area here. I'm going to mix it with the darker area there. And there you go. So you can see it is kind of blending these two different colors in so that there isn't so much of a hard line on the beach. I mean, there's nothing wrong with just leaving the beach as it is, but it's just an option, something that you could do to clean up your photos. One thing that you do need to keep in mind is with the healing brush, it really just blurs two layers together. So if you zoom in, you lose a lot of detail when you use the healing brush. So the healing brush is not something that you want to use in the water with waves, because there's a lot of detail in the waves, and if you use the healing brush, it'll really blur everything out. It'll make it look like almost like a long exposure or something. So yeah, that is pretty much what I do when I'm cleaning up images in Photoshop. I'm really just looking for kind of flyaways, like even an example like this. There's a part of a tree that's popping out, and I can use the healing brush because these are clouds, so there's really no detail in the clouds there. So I can use the healing brush to get rid of just these random branches up there that are in the image that are just, you know, minor distractions. Nothing major. Like, the image would have been totally fine if I would have left it like that, but it was a branch that came from nowhere. You know, there's no, the rest of the tree is gone. It didn't really make sense for the image, so I got rid of it. So yeah, that's pretty much my process for Photoshop as far as cleaning up a landscape photo. So hopefully this helped you. Hopefully now you can incorporate this information into your own editing process. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all of that, and I will see you on the next video.